ELI5. Why does a second last? Well, a second, any unit of measure, is an arbitrary definition based on the practical use. A meter is more or less the length of an adult's step, then standardized to be universal. 1 kilogram is more or less the weight of a liter of water. A second is close to the time of an average heartbeat. Being 1/60th of a minute is pretty practical, because it neatly relates to a circle. 360 is 6 times 60 and can easily be divided in half, quarters, thirds, sixths, so 1 heartbeat would be less than 1/60 of a minute, but having a second so defined is pretty neat. This is also why I find numerological nicer number arguments for 432 Hz versus 440 Hz silly. Those aren't pure numbers, they have a dimension of frequency, using the unit Hz, which is derived from the second the rotation period of a random rocky planet in the universe, subdivided in a way derived from Bronze Iron Age meatbags on that planet counting on their body parts. The digits of one hand have 12 phalanges, Babylonians counted by pointing their thumb at each of them. Hard to derive universal mathematical or metaphysical truths from that. The term second comes from the term minute, which I turn is called so because it is a minute division of the hour, 1 minute division being 1/60 of anything. The second then being the second minute division of the hour, or a minute division of the minute division L. So, a third would be a completely legitimate measure of time equal to 1/60 of a second. Because this is impractical and not easy to work with for scientific purposes, using base 10 systems for measuring less than a second became standard. Take a day. Divided by 2. Because 2 is a simple number that people in all ages have liked to work with. Divide the remainder by 12 and you get hours. Because 12 is a simple number that people in all ages have liked to work with. Divide that by 60 and you get minutes. Because 60 is the simple number that people in all ages have liked to work with. Divide that by 60 and you get seconds. Because 60 is the simple number that people in all ages have liked to work with. I don't see anyone mentioning how we keep the standard for what is a second in the modern era. 1 second is now defined by cesium 133. Specifically, 1 second is exactly how long it takes 9,192,631,770 cycles of radiation produced by the transition between 2 levels of the cesium 133 atom. Essentially, bits of a cesium 133 atom will 9,192,631,770 times, that's 1 second. Today, 1 second is defined as 9,192,631,770 periods of the radiation corresponding to the transition between the 2 hyperfine levels of the ground state of the cesium 133 atom. From this article, the internet is pretty useful if you know how to use it. I just want to add that, while math and clocks eventually standardize the length of the second, the concept of it might be more primordial than that. Everyone has a metronome constantly pounding in their chest. The idea of measuring time beat by beat may come from that fact. It was all devised to track the sun's positioning based on a single revolution of the Earth. The first division of a day was by 24 into hours, the first division of an hour by 60 made it minute, and the next division of those minutes also into 60 units, was the second one. Day split into 24 hours, 1 hour split into 60 minutes, 1 minute split into 60 seconds. 12 was a nice number. 60 was a nice number. Then someone thought to take some atom constant to define 1 second exactly the same for everyone and for eternity. I would suggest a read of The History of Measurements by James Vincent. Really delves into the history of measurements like this and is actually a really interesting read. I was dubious, but it kept me captivated for hours. They didn't all agree. Other time systems exist, but the most commonly used option gets adopted until it becomes ubiquitous. For example, you could use metric time if you want. We first counted time via the sun. Then broke that down to other units or measurement. Then with one of the smallest units of measurement an atom moves in sync with it, so we use that for more accuracy. It's a measurement and is a globally recognized standard. It was designed as such and used as such and thus is as such. Just like your dollar bill, but with a greater impact to everything it is applied to. I don't know if this is what you are after because it's not what the others have posted about. I can't explain ELI5, so here's a link. The same reason a foot is 1 foot, a meter is 1 meter and a gallon is 1 gallon. One guy said so and we all followed. It also worked out to cleanly divide the day. What about the association with navigation? Don't hours, minutes, seconds and time relate to hours, minutes, seconds in the global coordinate system? Go back far enough and an hour wasn't a consistent length. Romans divided daytime into 12 hours, so a winter hour was shorter than a summer one. The second is defined by some process in a cesium-133 atom. That process is always the same length and is used to define our time system. A healthy person's heartbeats come 1 second apart. That's what is referred to as your internal clock. Tick-tock 1 second. The second is defined by the amount of time it takes for the cesium atom to oscillate 9,192,631,770 times. How can we be sure we're in the correct year, if inaccurate methods were used in the past?